The next project we're going to be looking at is something called Zuul. This is actually a variant of a game that long ago was called Zork. The idea is that you actually type in words in order to go through an adventure. So the basic way it works is that you have something like, here is the description of what's going on. It says, these are the exits, there are no items, and then you type something like west. It says, you are in this place, there are exits, these are the exits, there is an item here. And you say things like, go west, go north, get mop, whatever the thing is. So generally there is an action and sometimes there's a direct object. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure sort of game, all done in the console in this case. That's the basics of the game. There's things you can pick up, things you can drop, it'll tell you what exits there are. You have a few different actions you're allowed to do. The reason we're doing this is that you're going to be starting from a set of code. So the Zuul example has 5 different things that are pre-done for you. If you're actually working in the industry, you're probably going to be working on somebody else's code. So it's a good idea to be able to start looking at somebody else's code, figure out what it is, and how to make alterations to it to make it do what you want to. So for this project, you are required to have these Java files to start with, and you can alter them so that it does what you need to do. So to begin with, let's actually try creating a project that has these things in it. File, new, Zuul project. And I'm actually going to take these files and put them directly in my source folder. And I want to copy these. All right, so I have these 5 files. So let's start by taking a look at what these different things do. Game is where you start. It's got some information about who made it in 2002. That was a while ago. A class game. Here's where you create all the rooms, and here's all the various rooms you make. You can play the game. You can print welcome, process various commands. Here's going to be useful. If command word equals this, then do this method, print help, which is right here. If command word is go, then go to a particular room, which is the next one down. And if you quit, then you do quit command, which is further down yet. All right, so that's how you process commands. You're actually going to read something in. Now what about these other things? So we have this class called room. What does a room do? So a room has a string and something called a hash map. A hash map is kind of like an array, except that instead of saying give me number 0, you say give me the thing that matches north, for example. So we're going to have a string that we put in, and it'll give us back a room. The way this works is that I'll say create a new room. It has a particular description, and that'll be the string I pass in. So over in game here, here's outside, there's a new room which has this description. And then when I want to set an exit, I set the word that I'm going to give it and where that's going to lead me. And that happens in this set exit here. So I'm going to say north, and it'll give me back whatever room that is. I might say up, and that'll give me back the room. The advantage of using a map is that you can actually put in any word as a direction. One word, though. You can't do north space east or something like that. There's a get description, get short and long. You can get a particular exit string, which has to do with when you want to show all of the exits. And you're going to be able to get a particular exit. All right, so that's how a room works. Now when I'm actually reading something in, I'm going to be doing this command. What is a command? So a command is basically a way of taking the thing you typed and breaking it into 2 pieces, a command word and a second word. So the command word will be like go or quit. So over in game here, when I'm looking at help or go or quit, those are the command words. You can also get a second word. So for example, go east, if I go down to this process go room, I need to get the second word out of the command. So command is basically an object that holds 2 strings, the command word and the second word, whatever that is. And I can create it using this constructor here, and I can get the command word or get the second word from that. It'll also tell me if it's unknown or if it has a second word. Now there's another thing that I'm using here. So besides a command itself, I'm going to be using something called a parser. That's this thing here. So the parser is used in parser.get command. So what is a parser? So a parser is something that takes in a string and breaks it into the pieces that we need. So this parser here is going to have a series of valid command words. It's going to read in a line, so it's using buffered reader, which you may or may not know about, but it basically reads in a single line, throws an error if there's a problem. It uses something called a string tokenizer. It's a special Java class that breaks a string into a series of pieces. And then it basically takes the first word, and that's the first one out of the tokenizer. So the first token or individual word becomes word 1. If there's a second one, then it puts that in word 2. And then it creates a new command which has the first word as the command word, second word as the second word. That's the idea. So that's going to break it into pieces. Now what's this command words thing? That's the last thing we haven't looked at. These are all the valid commands. It's basically saying, take this word. Is this a command you're allowed to use? So it's a way to keep your code from breaking. So if I say go east, and then I go east, and then I say Sasquatch, and it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it won't break your code. This also is used to, if you want to do show all, this will show all of your various things. So if you need to add another command, such as pickup or, well, get might be the better way to do it, or drop, you're going to have to add those here. All right, so this is where I'm starting from. Now, if I try and run this thing, it's going to say, you don't have a main method. Oh yeah, we should add that in. So to begin with, I should add in a main. Public static void main string array args. So here I'm going to create I'm going to have to hold on to this game for a moment. So my game is a new game. So that creates it. However, if you notice in here, it creates rooms and it creates a new parser, but it never starts the game. It never says play. So I have to go up here and say, all right, my game dot play. So let's go ahead and run that guy as a Java application. All right, welcome to adventure, blah, 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 blah. So you are outside. So let's say help. So it looks here, it says these are your command words. How about go south? You're in the computing lab. Go east. You're in the computing admin office. Go west. I'm back in the computing lab. All right, so this is the basics of a maze. Can I quit? Yes, and I'm no longer running because the red square is not highlighted anymore. All right, so the way I would create new rooms is I would create rooms here, and then once I actually create the room in the description, then I'll set the various exits that they're going to have. I would recommend drawing a map at this point, by the way. I think that would help a lot. Now, one other thing I should mention real quick, you're going to want to take these rooms and put them outside of the create room method. And the reason why is that we're going to have to be able to mess with those when we pick up and drop items. So you add your new room to the list here, put the description in, set the various exits. So I'm going to add 120 to this. 120 is a new room. In the coolest place in the world. Done. And I should probably set up an exit that gets here. So I start outside. Let's say that outside set exit north. And the place I'm going to go is 120. Notice that current room is going to change as I go through the thing. This is basically pointing to whichever room I happen to go into. While I'm here, let's say, no, I'll get stuck if I go into 120 right now. So I need to set an exit, which also goes back to where I came from. Now, if you're making a maze, you don't have to have this be two-dimensional things, but I'm going to do that for now. And this is going to be back south, will get me there. All right, so I'm outside, go north. Hey, I'm in the coolest place in the world. I must be in 120. All right, can I go back south? Yes. All right, so that gets me started on this. That's how I create new rooms, how I set new exits. Now, there's another requirement, however. So you have to have at least 15 rooms, each of which tells you the exits. There must be 5 items. Ooh, how am I going to do that? Items must be able to be picked up and dropped. So that means that my player is going to have some sort of inventory, and my rooms also are going to have some way of keeping track of that. And then finally, the game must end in some other fashion than the quit function. And you should not be lame in, like, you take a step and you die. Anyway, so those are the requirements. What I would recommend is that you take a look at how you want to do items. You're going to have some way of storing whether you have an item or not. So the game itself is probably going to need some sort of list that keeps track of your items. Each room is probably also going to need to keep track of what items are inside of it as well. You're going to need to have some sort of pick up and drop command that goes here, and you're probably going to want a method that deals with that. So let's start with that for now, and I'll go on to how to maybe adding in a particular item in a little bit.